I have now gone 100% Apple. Well played, Tim Cook. Well played. Work hard, rest often. What's going on, everyone? It's Finn, and yes, recently I switched from being Android my entire life, besides that one time I had a BlackBerry, to being completely all invested in the Apple ecosystem. Now, I've had my iPhone for a little bit of time now and have properly made the switch over. So here are all of my thoughts on whether this is something I would recommend and some of the different things I learned along the way. Make sure to stay tuned till the end so you get all my thoughts and maybe some things that I didn't expect going into this switch. So ever since I retired my BlackBerry and once my Windows Nokia phone, rest in peace. Actually, I think it still works. It's a Nokia, of course it still works. Besides those, I have used an Android phone for the entirety of my smartphone experience up until very recently. What made me even make the switch in the first place? This was actually a small build that just got more and more gradual over time. So I had a couple problems with a series of different phones that I went through the Android operating system. Nothing against the operating system as a whole. I think there were just bugs with these phones in particular and just gave me a bit of a weird taste in my mouth there. But that's not all, because I slowly became more and more invested in the Apple ecosystem. Throughout college, I was using a MacBook Pro, and I still use that to this day, which I edit all these videos and the majority of my photos on. And recently, I also got an iPad that I use in tandem with my MacBook. So already, you can kind of see the progression here. And then one of these shows that I was working on had a giveaway at the end, and I ended up coming away with an Apple Watch out of it. Now, here's the thing, because I had been contemplating making the switch to iOS for a very long time. Just about every time I had to get a new phone, the thought ran across my mind, but I couldn't justify it at that time. For my different on-set purposes and everything, we started using a couple different apps that were iOS specific. You couldn't get them on Android, and these apps were necessary for us to do our job and do it better. So it made sense and was something that I would have had to do down the line anyways. And the thing when I won the Apple Watch is, I didn't know this at the time, they only work with an iPhone. I tried to pair them with my iPad, my MacBook, my Android phone, and anybody else out there who has an Apple Watch is currently laughing at me. I know you are. I see you. I see you laughing. I'm laughing with you. So you see the problem there. You need an iPhone to pair with the Apple Watch. It will not pair with any other type of phone or any other, even an Apple device. So that led to a couple issues. And then I had that for about a month or two before I finally got the iPhone. I'm holding it upside down. The particular model in question is the iPhone 13 Pro, and the Android phone that I came from before was an Asus Zenfone 5Z, I believe. You can see the two different ones here. I went with the Pro, not the Pro Max, just because I wanted something a little smaller, even though I have really big hands anyways. I wanted something that was a little more manageable. And let me address the elephant in the room as well, because I did not come from like the flagship Samsung or Google Pixel or OnePlus. I didn't come from any of those. So coming from something that was more of a mid-range Android phone that was a little outdated, going to essentially what is borderline the flagship iPhone besides like the 13 Pro Max or whatever it is. It was a drastic change. Immediately the iPhone just felt a lot smoother. It felt like it's the thing everybody says about Apple products. They just work, and this is no exception. Coming from having used the iPad Air 4, the 2021, coming from using that, I was already familiar with iOS enough to where I kind of had an idea and was able to stumble my way through figuring it all out, where all the different parameters and everything were like that compared to Android. So it wasn't that much of a struggle. If you were coming from never using any Apple product before, shifting from Android to an iPhone, like if you had only used PCs and you'd never used a MacBook, you'd never used an iPad, nothing like that, it would be a harder switch. It definitely would. But because I already had the iPad, I was able to set things up through that. And there was just a lot of, everything just made sense, and it just worked very well. Now, a couple things that I do miss is definitely the Touch ID, especially being in a world where you're wearing masks. A lot of the time, it does become a little tedious to enter your password all the time, especially when I'm used to Touch ID on my Android and on my iPad as well. Then you get all the different cables. You need to get the new Lightning cable because everything else I had was USB-C or one thing or the other, which that just comes with iPhones, I guess. Maybe one day they'll make them USB-C, but that's an argument for another day. But a lot of these things I kind of knew I was getting into anyways because I'd been contemplating it for a while, and it was fun. And the headphone jack, it was taken out long enough ago where I don't really miss it a whole lot. I use wireless earbuds anyway, so it's not like the worst thing, quite honestly. And here's the other thing, the camera in this is ridiculous. I have a full video comparing it to my professional photography camera linked up here, so make sure to check that out. But the camera in this actually makes me want to take photos on my phone more. Because here's the thing, beforehand, I just wouldn't. Like if I was out somewhere and I wanted a photo and I didn't have my camera, chances are my phone would stay in my pocket because the quality was okay, but it was just that okay. And like sometimes if I really needed the photo, really wanted it, I would take it. But usually it's about 50-50 whether I would or I wouldn't. Now, anytime I want to take a photo or I see something cool, yeah, I'm gonna pull my phone out of my pocket. Are you kidding me? Like the quality that you're able to fit in such a small sensor is very, very surprising. And it's making me want to take more photos with my phone, which is something I never thought would happen. And this technology is only getting better. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. And I know for a lot of Android users, you like having the different buttons at the bottom, the different back buttons and stuff like that. And that was definitely something to get used to. I kind of already had a bit of an idea with the swiping gestures on the iPad, so that made that a little easier, but not having those back buttons and figuring out what way to swipe and this and that, it took a little time getting used to, and I definitely sometimes tried to hit those buttons still, but I'm pretty much over that hump now, and I've pretty much figured it out as I've needed to. I haven't really had to Google anything, so I just kind of play around until I figure it out, which usually only takes a couple minutes at most. So it is very intuitive, and a lot of things just make sense. Even like little things, if you don't think about it initially, where you like swipe one way or the other to go back, or stuff like that, you know what, it ends up making sense. So I'm not upset by it. It's nothing where I'm like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. This annoys me constantly. This is a constant gripe I have. It doesn't. The other thing too is sometimes my old phone had issues pairing with the Bluetooth in my car and sometimes other devices as well. And with the iPhone, it really doesn't have any of that, probably just because of the updated Bluetooth technology in it. But I digress. Everything is smoother, easier, and it's more efficient. Now, the other thing is having everything in my life being Apple now, being a slave to the fruit, a slave to Tim Cook. I have always been a fan of Airdrop between my iPad and my laptop, but now adding in the phone with it just makes my life that much easier. And there's the whole iMessage thing, which is great as well. I know a lot of people who stick with Apple, it's because of Airdrop and iMessage, and I get it now. It's one of those things of, if you've never used it, you don't miss it. But once you have it there, and once you see how easy it is, you don't want to lose it. You don't want to regress from not having it. So it's definitely something that now that I'm used to it, I don't think I could go back, or not very easily, not without a fight, Now, I'm curious, have you made the switch from Android to Apple? Have you made the switch from Apple to Android? Let me know your thoughts down below on how that experience was for you. And if you're thinking about making this switch, I hope this video helps you out. Don't forget, drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. Work hard, rest often, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.